Okay, I have something here that probably a lot of you have. It's a Rode mic. It's a mic designed, if you notice the plug here and the coiled cord, it's designed for probably DSLRs to use. It's a budget mic. Let's get real here. It's not the same quality as one of these mics. Probably gives decent sound. I have not used this, but it's battery controlled. And you put a 9-volt battery in it. By the way, it has the roll-off switch here that the other microphone has. The other feature of this is the windsock, and this is a little bit more thicker than the blimp that I have over there. The blimp is basically covered with pantyhose. That's very, very thin, but it breaks up the wind. If I were in high wind, I would choose to put one of these thicker ones over my microphone, even inside the blimp. That is like hurricane force winds or anything above 15-20 miles an hour. What you risk when you put windsocks over is you start to reduce the treble frequencies. If you put this over your ear, you can tell that it's a little bit muffled on that side, but it's still, if I hold this up to the light, I can see a little bit of light in there, so that means there's a little bit of sound coming through, but it's mostly there to knock off the low frequency of the wind hitting it. The way the blimp works, if the outside is further away from the microphone, we know how small that microphone is in here. The wind hits it, and by the time it hits the microphone, it is decayed even more. So it's very important that you have some kind of wind reduction capabilities of your microphone. Let's talk about boom poles real quick. This is a boom pole that's made out of carbon fiber. It's great because when you handle it, the only sound is heard directly from the surface. Old boom poles, especially aluminum ones, if you handle it, it starts to telegraph up through and into the microphone. When I first started out in the industry back in the 80s, the best boom poles were aluminum, and you still had to wear white or cotton gloves rather, they didn't have to be white, cotton gloves with it, and never move. You couldn't move your hand at all or it'd sound like thunder. And the shock mounts have gotten a lot better. You don't have to have carbon fiber. They make aluminum poles that are very, very good at getting rid of most of the telegraph sound. However, they're heavier. Something like this, along with the blimp, probably weighs about 4 pounds, maybe. After about 10 minutes, it weighs about 14 pounds. After 20 minutes, it weighs 24 pounds. After 2 hours, it weighs 400 pounds. Now, you certainly can hold it like this. If you were to hold a pole like this, you're creating a lot of muscles, using a lot of muscles through here and in your forearms. If you're holding it overhead, you can lock your elbows and be able to lessen the strain, but there's no getting around it. Booming is hard work. It's an often unappreciated part of the process because the boom operator must get the microphone into the correct place to get the best sound. Along with it, it's very physical. If it's a sit-down interview, something where they're not moving, you can always mount this on a pole overhead and just step back and save your arms. And I wish I would have brought it, but anybody that has ever fished in a boat, you can get a little hook that goes in the edge of the boat to hold your fishing pole. You can use the same thing for one of these. Just go to any bait shop or Walmart or any place and get one of these, and you put it in the top of a light stand and it holds it. It's like a little cradle that holds it like that. And again, it's only good for if you're stationary. And if you do a lot of interviews and documentaries, that's going to be your bread and butter. You're just going to mount it overhead. Now, if you notice on this particular pole, the cable comes out of the bottom. It actually is fed inside and comes out through the top through a special top here. Now, no, in order for to get this cable in here, we did have to wire it. So we had to, one end can be wired, but the other had to be just basically a cut cable to feed up through out of this. Some boom poles have a top that you can remove and feed. It doesn't matter if you have the cable. You pull this out, you pull the cable connector through, and then you put the top back on. This particular one, we had to do this, but that's all right because we replace these cables in these twice a year at least, because they just, you know, when you're on location, cables break, things break, they get worn out. The other kind come with a cable already inside it. Sometimes it's a coiled cable, like a headphone cable. I'm not a real big fan of those. They tend to, like anybody that's had a coiled headphone cable, after about 3 days they start knotting up. Well, that puts tension and folds part of the cable over, and you eventually have to replace that. And trying to get a coiled cable is more expensive than going down to a local electronics store and getting my cable and replacing that. The other thing, they have, the coiled ones usually have a connector on the bottom of the pole, and that way that you can't rest it on the mic connector. The last kind are the kind that the cable, there is no interior path for it. It basically, you extend the pole out and then you wrap the cable on the outside. You kind of spiral it around. That's okay in a pinch. You're going to find that the cable resting on the pole will sometimes cause a problem, and usually the poles that are like that are usually not the very best make, and the aluminum itself will transmit up. So we kind of go back to the 80s with those as far as the quality. So try to avoid those, but I realize that everyone has a budget, and if you don't have the budget for one of these, by the way, all this is rentable. You can rent everything that I have here, not my gear, but you can rent from any place that rents cameras, lights. They always have audio gear that's available, and if you have the budget, get it. Get the best that you can afford. It will pay off in the long run. The beauty of this particular mic, I have an AT, Audio Technica, in here. It's very rich quality compared to something that's half its price. This mic, the Super Cardioid, is the same brand and the same model line. These two mics sound exactly alike when used in the right way. I can use this mic a little bit further away than this mic, but when I need to record the same person, maybe in a closer setting, remember, smaller mic for smaller environment, I'll throw this mic on them overhead, and it will sound very, very similar to this mic. So if you can get matched mics if you need them, that's also going to pay off in the long run. It sounds like I'm talking about squeezing little details out of the sound on location. That's what you have to do. You can't settle for something bad, because what happens if you get bad audio out of one of these on the set, you're stuck with bad audio completely to the end. You can dress it up, you can get rid of sounds, you can equalize it, you can do certain things to it to make it sound better, but you're never going to make it sound good. You have to start off right here with the best stuff. That's why would you put a cheap lens on your video camera? You know that the high quality lens, that's where it starts. That's where the light first hits the lens. With a microphone, that's where the sound first hits. So the best quality that you can use going down the line doesn't mean you have to spend a fortune. You have to use good technique, and you have to use, you know, medium quality gear to get the right sound for what you want. Okay, we've talked about the mic, we've talked about the pole, we've talked about the blimp. The last thing is how to handle it. I'm just going to touch on this because in a future episode, in a wrap-up for location sound, we will actually show you behind the scenes on a complete setup using the lav, using the boom, using the mixer, using the camera, everything. We'll show you, we'll go through all the details for you and you'll be able to see it and pick it apart. But basically when you're holding a boom pole, you're going to want to hold it by the fattest part of it. If you're extending a boom pole, you want to first extend the largest sections first and then work your way up to the next section and then the next section and the last section. I would not pull this section out first. It's a weak point. You want as best thickness as you can get on this. But when you're holding a boom pole, the correct way to try to put a boom put a boom over the subject, if this is the person's head, you're going to want to try to go completely overhead, perpendicular, in front of the person. You might move it in a little bit, but the reason is you've got the ceiling above, and remember these have a little bit of pickup out of the back of them, so you're going to eliminate a lot of sound by pointing it towards the ceiling directly above you. You can come underneath like that when needed, and sometimes from the side, but you're going to have better noise reduction from ambient noise, and you're going to have better sound pickup. Sound has a tendency to almost come out and up so that you can put this overhead. It just sounds very natural overhead. Same thing with these mics. Try to put them perpendicular to the sound, not over top of their head, but out in front of them. Because again, the sound is going to kind of come up like that, so you can be out in front of them, you know, 6 to 12 inches straight up above. Next time on Media Unlocked, it's mixers and recorders. We're going to go over the basics of how to hook your microphones up to a mixer, how to get that sound to the camera. We're also going to have little portable recording devices that you can use in lieu of plugging directly into your camera. Stay tuned.
Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the end of the third week of Niel Kesterson's audio series. Something I want to let you guys know, feel free to leave comments down below. Niel will be more than happy to answer them every week. You know, I could take in the comments and he'll answer them. So if you have any questions, comments, whatever, please leave a comment down below, and I'll make sure that Niel, to the best of his knowledge, is able to answer the question. Also, I wanted to thank everybody out there yesterday, or actually it would be yesterday, it would be Thursday, I hit 300 subscribers. So I really want to thank you guys for that. It's awesome that I've hit 300 subscribers, and I'm about to hit 50,000 video views. So thank you so much, everyone out there that's supported me, and hopefully we'll keep making awesome videos for another 50,000, another 300 subscribers. I'm sure we will. And then the last bit of news is Tuesday of next week, I'm going to be putting out my review of the Canon T3i. I'm going to go over, I'm not really going to break it down like I did the T2i, but I'm going to break down a few of the newer functions that I really like, and I think it makes it worth the extra $250 over the T2i. So the biggest drawback of the T3i right now is that there is no Magic Lantern hack for it, which is kind of sucking, but I'm sure they'll come up with something here in the next couple months. So as well, stick around for the very end of this video. We're going to throw in a couple bloopers, so I hope you guys enjoy. Anyways, till next time, guys.
Microphone. It is a more natural sounding, and I just realized that I'm not even looking there, I'm looking over here. So I'm going to start again. What are the rubber bands on here for?
My shock mount bands all broke, so I made my own shock mount. It still works.
These go together?
Huh?
These go together? Oh, I see. I'm just kind of skitty today with.
That's fine. I mean, editing's
losing sleep.
This is pretty cut and paste.
Okay.
Literally.
I'm trying to.
The parts I like.
Okay, good, because I'm trying to not talk too much, but.
No, you're good. Yeah.
It kind of has a tendency to come out. I'll let you make a cut here. You can just leave it if you want to, and I can pick it up.
Keep rolling.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's sorry that did it.
It's such a small thing like that. I don't think people are going to wind it up.
Yeah.
I know you will, but
yeah. Well, it's going to sound pretty loud.